The metropolis of Sydney stands still. A 2-week lockdown has been imposed, and the reason is the Delta variant is spreading rapidly. Many people in the country are frustrated by the low vaccination rates. So far, countries in Europe have looked at the corona situation in Australia with a mixture of envy and admiration. While Germany was locked down for months, life on the other side of the world seemed to go on almost normally. Australia had sealed its borders in March of last year and kept the numbers consistently low with rapid local lockdowns and strict quarantine rules for immigrants, a zero-COVID strategy that paid off. But for about a week, Down Under has been trembling because of a new outbreak in the metropolis of Sydney. Those affected got infected with a more aggressive Delta variant. After an initial short lockdown for parts of the city, the authorities have now extended the measure to the entire Greater Sydney area and surrounding regions in the state of New South Wales. More than 5 million people have to stay at home for 2 weeks. You are only allowed to go out for necessary errands, visits to the doctors, and sports. We have to be prepared for the fact that the number will increase significantly with this variant. We see almost 100% of the transition within households, said NSW head of government Gladys Berejiklian at a press conference on Monday morning about the new measures they were taking. First of all, the Delta variant was discovered by a driver in the Bondi district. He had brought the crew of an airplane to a quarantine hotel. Within a week, the numbers in NSW soared from 7 to 130 locally transmitted cases, most of them with a direct link to the driver's service. Among other things, there were infections at a school in the Coogee district and a birthday party, after which 30 guests tested positive. Restrictions also apply in other areas of the country since yesterday, I guess. In Perth, in Western Australia, contact restrictions and a mask requirement apply for at least 3 days. A woman from Perth tested positive in Sydney. A brief lockdown was imposed in the north in Darwin after a minor tested positive. 2 new cases have been reported in Brisbane with minor restrictions and a mask requirement. Melbourne seems to have been spared so far. Since the beginning of the pandemic, more than 30,000 infections with the coronavirus have been reported in Australia, where around 25 million people live. 910 people have died in connection with an illness. What is currently causing a lot of talk in the country, however, is the sluggish vaccination campaign. Only about 7.3 million vaccine doses have been administered so far. 1.19 million people, which corresponds to about 4.7% of the population, are fully vaccinated. In my home state, it's about 38%. Many Australians are currently wondering why the vaccination campaign in the country is progressing so slowly. Global supply bottlenecks, international competition, and problems with the study for the production of its own vaccine in Australia are cited by the government as reasons for the low vaccination rate. The opposition and experts accuse Prime Minister Scott Morrison that the current lockdown is a direct result of the failed vaccination campaign. They made themselves too dependent on AstraZeneca and did not agree on deals with other manufacturers in good time. The distribution in the country is also chaotic. In addition, the problems with AstraZeneca's vaccine have also fueled fears in parts of the population about the safety of vaccines. Just 2 weeks ago, the government issued a recommendation that only people over the age of 60 should be vaccinated with the vaccine. It's all about the supply. We don't have enough to meet the demand. It is the exit from the virus motorway. But at the moment, we are not getting the green light to leave the motorway, and with it, the pandemic to leave it behind. And said Victoria State Health Minister Martin Foley recently. And yeah, without vaccinating enough, you can't leave the pandemic behind. We are still here with a much better vaccination rate, far away from that exit from the motorway. So I hope that our friends in Australia will be able to take up some pace there, because until then, and the whole world isn't vaccinated properly, we will have to deal with that stuff. I'll see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen.